It's good to be here after a few days. Last few days, the weekend was just busy. So, in case you're interested in opening a school, I thought I'll create some videos because uh, I had a lot of questions that were coming, and on opening a school. So, a lot of questions were coming on how to open a play school, how to open a primary school, how to open a middle school, and how to open a 10+2 school from across South Asia. And I thought let me make some uh, videos to answer the questions. Um, of course, opening a school is not easy, and but people do realize that after the COVID situation, that perhaps this is a sector which will, once it opens up, and it will in the coming months. I think they're already talking about schools should start opening after July. Southeast Asia schools have opened. So the first question that everyone's on top of your mind is when will schools reopen? And schools are opening. They've opened in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, China, where they were ahead of us in terms of the corona situation. Similarly, in Europe, schools have started opening because children staying at home is not good for psychological health of children, and we don't know how long corona is with us. So even if we find a vaccination they're saying by 2021, I don't know. But even when vaccination is found, then the to produce so many vaccinations to inoculate and make the whole world safe is going to take a lot of time. So as a result, does that mean if we are not able to vaccinate our whole entire population for a couple of years, does that mean that children will stay locked in their houses? No. So what is going to happen is we are going to learn that if we are sensible about it, and once I think the peak starts coming down, we will realize that we can live with this. Just like we have, humans have always continued to live with measles, have continued to live with HIV, and common cold, pneumonia. These are things which already don't have a cure, but we know that if we take precautions, we can live. So similarly, with the corona situation, what is going to happen is we are going to learn how to live with it, and schools will start reopening and have reopened across the world. Just excuse me. Sorry about that. So since some questions were coming about opening a school, opening a school after corona, I thought there was a lot of interest because sectors like traditionally service sectors like restaurants, salons are facing more challenges because these are choices. These are choices that people have when it comes to whether they want to like to look at that as a career. But education is something which is core, which is fundamental, and that is not going to change. Education, children have to be educated, and we know that 2, 3, 4 months, the schools eventually will open in India as well, and in across South Asia. So I think a lot of questions were coming, so I thought I'll make a small video on that to help those of you who are interested in opening a school. Also, wanted to share that I'm doing. There are details are given below. I'm doing a webinar on how to open a successful school. I'll be covering up things like what are the area requirements, investment requirements, what kind of approvals do you need to do when you open a school. So I'll cover everything, the investment, and how will schools look after corona. How will it change the economics of running a school? So there are many questions on your mind, I'm sure. So if you really are thinking of opening a school, you think this might be something interesting for you, then I would strongly urge you to register for this webinar on how to open a successful school, because I'll cover everything there is that I can within an hour and a half. So you have a clear-cut idea of is this something that you want to do or not? What are the investment requirement for a school registrations? So I'll cover all that. So one of the questions that I got was, can I set up an elementary school and get affiliation to CBSE? So if you set up a primary school, you don't really need to have an affiliation with a board. The affiliation with the school board starts when you start class 9th. Before that, what you need is an approval from the state government. So for pre-primary classes, only a few states require registration. If you require any help, when you fill up the form, one of my managers will speak to you, and of course you can have a discussion about that. Secondly is, if you start class 1 onwards, then it's mandatory. I mean, registering a school is mandatory from the Department of Education, the DEO, Pradhyatmik Shiksha Adhikari. It's called recognition, registration, it's all the same thing. So that is required. You don't need to go for affiliation with the school board if you're running only a primary school. Affiliation with CBSE will start when you start with class 9. So this question came from Mr. Lovely Chaudhary from Gumla in Jharkhand. Then this question came from Mr. Siddharth. What is the process of our franchise? See, we have we are setting up 2 schools every week for the past few years. So our systems are in place. We are to help entrepreneurs who understand that this is a good sector and they want to set up a really, really good school but don't have the complete expertise. I mean, it just doesn't make sense for every entrepreneur to recreate what we have created over 30 years. We have a team of people doing research and development, right from academics to marketing to digital marketing to recruitment to legal, accountancy, everything is there ready-made. So if you really want to set up a very high quality school, then of course we would really encourage you to look at the franchise option. Again, if you want to understand more about us, more about this sector, I would strongly encourage you to register for this webinar that's happening on how to open a successful school. You just put in your details, your name, email, and somebody will get in touch with you, and it's absolutely free. So I don't think you have anything to lose. So register yourself and I'll share with you more details on our franchise offer. This question came from Rajesh Kumar Shukla, who said, I want to open a primary school in my village. Is there any benefit from the government? Unfortunately, no. What the government does is, if you're running a 10+2 school and you're running under a trust or a society, you don't have to pay income tax. So that's the benefit that you get. But apart from that, your electricity, your registration, any taxes that you're paying would, apart from income tax, would be at the commercial rate. So there is no benefit on that side. In certain towns, in certain areas, the government does give land subsidized. So you might want to check with your local authorities, but not in villages. That will be in towns in upcoming areas. Also, if you're buying land for a school from a developer, the cost of the land would be much less than the market price of the same land if you were to buy it from in terms of green land and get that CLU, means change of land use. So if that's the only subsidy you can find. Otherwise, in terms of for construction, for loan, everything, you have to pay as per market prices. Again, would encourage you to register for the webinar if you're interested. If you have any questions, you can write down in the chat box. I can answer those questions for you. Mr. Vinay from Bhopal, what are the prospects of preschooling post-corona? Will parents send their kids to school or not? They'll not send their children to school, of course, until they feel safe. So it'll take time. First step would be the schools have to open, and it'll not be as if the day the schools are open now, make the announcement to open the schools, the children will all run to schools. So that's not going to happen. What is going to happen is slowly some children will come, especially of parents who are feeling confident because they have been traveling, or the numbers in that area also have come down, and schools will have to show that the number of steps they are taking will have to follow those processes to ensure that give the confidence to parents that yes, they are safe. And with time, as I've always said, we will learn to live with the coronavirus, and parents will start sending, because children right now are at a very important age. Either their minds are growing or they are decaying. For all of us, not even children, and children even more. Then being in the foundation years, if you're talking about preschools, this is the foundation year. If the child is at home, not only is he not learning, but it's impacting their psychological health. Children at home right now, it's not good for them, because they don't understand why they can't go out to play with their friends, why they can't meet their teachers. And online education is, of course, is the only hope for that. But it's not as good as the real thing, and everybody's going to start realizing that. So with time, we will see children coming into our schools. There's no question about that. Mr. Binaya Sahu from Odisha is asking about the investment requirement. In terms of investment, you can set up a school as per your budget and as per your locality. Different investments, different kinds of schools require different investments. It depends on what kind of school are you really creating. So if you're setting up a 10+2 school, again, the cost apart from land, apart from land, the cost of construction will range from 1,000 rupees to about 3,000 rupees a square feet. So if you're setting up, say, 15,000 square feet built up area, that means about 1.5 crore to 4.5 crore investment as a bare minimum. If you're setting up a primary school, anything from 8 to 20 lakh rupees you should think of investment. This means apart from property. And for a play school, 5 lakhs to 20 lakh rupees or even higher, that depends. I mean, there are people who invest a lot of money, but this is the basic investment that you can think of. So from 5 lakhs to 50 crore you can invest in a school. It depends entirely on your budget, the kind of school you want to set up, which area you want to open a school. So these are the factors. If you really want to know the answer properly, I would strongly encourage you to register for this webinar. The link is in the details. Please click and a form will open, and we'll be happy to, somebody will share with you username and password. This webinar I'm conducting on how to open a successful school is absolutely free of cost. So I'll talk in detail about everything you need to know, so do fill that up. One question came from Babit Nagar. What will happen to schools in rural areas after Corona? Not only rural areas, even urban areas as well. So what has happened is a lot of schools are unable to deal with the challenge of online education and receiving only 10% of the fee. So schools are not able to survive. A lot of schools who do not have any kind of support, because who's supporting the schools? Who is giving them? Just because schools can have teachers and can teach in the classroom does not mean they can easily adapt to the online learning environment. So online learning environment is very, very different, and without help, a lot of schools unfortunately have closed down already. And they're coming in the news where teachers are selling fruits and somebody doing manual labor. It's very, very sad situation right now, because and even sadder to know that people who are not paying include people who are in government jobs, chemists, and people whose business has not been affected. Even those people are taking advantage of the fact that government is saying don't pay the fee, and as a result, because they are not paying the fee, the schools are not able to pay the salaries and are shutting down. You know, it's the same story that we heard of a king asked everybody to put a glass of milk in the well so that we all have some milk for the whole city, and he asked everybody to contribute a glass of milk, but everybody thought that if I just put my glass of water, it will make no difference. And in the morning when the king opened the cover, the well was full of water, and that's what's happened. So yes, a lot of schools who have, but on the other hand, those schools who have adapted to this new learning, like the way we have, to this new way of communication and of teaching learning, you can go on our Facebook pages and see how much actions are happening. We've completed nearly 90 days of our homeschooling program. There's been a summer camp, virtual summer camp, and so we've done a lot, and that's why we're able to survive. So because the skill sets required to run a school after COVID are going to be very different from the pre-COVID days. In pre-COVID, you can hire principal teachers and they could teach, but now you need to have people who understand technology in terms of education, their tech, education technology, as well as education for marketing, technology for marketing your school. So it's becoming a bit more complicated to run a school, but yes, good brands, good systems are able, for us it's good, because earlier it was difficult to say that how good we are, how different we are, because everybody was making sort of noise. Now when everybody has quietened down and we say that yes, this is what we are, and parents can see that, and we've come to the front, it's making a huge difference, and we are setting up new schools. Even we're finalizing new schools almost every week. So our growth continues, and Shamrock and Chelmsford is doing well, because people can now see and make a decision to join Shamrock, whether as a franchisee or as a parent. So both ways we're getting a good response from parents. So that's what's happening. But yes, those schools who are not able to adapt to this new way and expect parents to pay the fee because they're not giving anything. So if you're giving people something of value, why will they not pay you? But if you're not giving anything and you're expecting fee, why will they pay fee? I mean, it's as a parent, just because my child is enrolled in your school, should I end up paying you thousands of rupees? No, you have to give value. So I think those schools, so it's divided between two parts. That those who are giving value, parents are paying, and not all. Again, 30-40%, because not every child is able to take this digital learning journey. But there are people who are either not doing anything, or don't understand digital learning and how powerful online learning can be, and are just doing live classes and replicating the classwork, the classroom into the online learning environment. And as a result, parents feel that this is just being an eyewash. So this online learning is useless, and it's getting because online learning means is a very broad term. So when they feel they're not learning anything, they're doing this just to extract more fees from us, and they're also not getting paid. So right now, that's what the situation is. It's a very difficult situation for schools who either don't understand it or are doing it just to do some time pass thing. So yeah, it's challenging. But what is happening is those who are going to open schools when so much competition will be eliminated, this would be a perfect time to enter the school sector, because if you really want to set up a really good school for your community, you want to give the best education for children, then there'll never be a better time in history. At least if I look back in the last 30 years, I don't think there'll be a better time, because right now parents are ready. And if you are equipped with a school model which is good, and you have combined your digital learning model along with it, and you offer it to your communities, it will do well, because right now parents are ready to accept. Earlier digital learning, online learning was something which parents were also not ready. Now if you say, I'm doing this session online, people come online, and you're watching this session online, right? So I think it's going to be a good time to open schools. If you have any more questions, I think with that, these are the questions that I had for now. I hope I have answered that question to your best of my ability. Don't forget, if you have any questions, please write down in the comment section. I'll try and answer them in my next videos. And also don't forget to register yourself for the free webinar on how to open a successful school post-corona. This is the only webinar of its kind, and it's absolutely free. I just want people who are setting up schools not to make mistakes, to set up good schools. So if you're one of them, you're thinking about that this might be something interesting for you, something you might enjoy doing, something where you give back and you get good returns, then I would strongly encourage you to register for this webinar. With that, don't forget to, before going, to subscribe to this to the channel and click on the bell icon so that whenever I post a new video, you are informed. Thank you so much. Have a good day, and I'll see you hopefully in my next webinar. Thank you.